This is the Thought Leaders Podcast.
I got to sit down with a true YouTube legend and pioneer, the one and only Simon Whistler. It was an incredible episode. Great time talking to him. Right off the bat, we started off talking about how he transitioned from a normal career straight into YouTube. At around the 35-minute mark, we really got into Simon's role as being a teacher and inspiring people out there all over the world. And about 10 minutes after that, at about the 45-minute mark, we really talked about his career arc, where he sees it going. And at the end, if you stay to the end, which I really hope you do, you will hear what is Simon Whistler's favorite trilogy of all time.
So, Simon Whistler, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. This, for me, on a personal note, is incredible because obviously you're doing just incredible things in history, politics, the business world you're moving into. I mean, you're definitely one of, in my opinion, one of the most innovative and influential and informative creators on YouTube. And definitely, I studied international relations and history in university. So on a personal note, thank you very much for getting me through a lot of the history classes. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Ariel. Thank you for having me on. And that was quite the intro. So yeah, I don't know. I'll try and live up to it.
No, just being here, you're definitely living up to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess what I really wanted to kind of talk to you today about is to understand who is Simon Whistler and what goes on behind the scenes. So I would love just to start with to understand how you got into being, you know, one of the bigger YouTube personalities out there.
It was not the kind of normal journey, I guess. I think a lot of people, they're like, they don't get into YouTube accidentally. It's kind of a purposeful choice, like becoming a YouTuber. Like they upload videos to the platform with the hopeful intent that they will one day be big and be watched by lots of people. That is not how it happened to me. I think, you know, in a way, it's something I've always wanted to do. Like ever since I was a kid, I was into the theater and then through school, university, stuff like that. But then, you know, life beckons and you have to go do something serious was kind of my view on things. And I think, you know, it's pretty traditional, normal view that you should go do something like that. So I went and I did a business degree undergrad, and then I did like the legal conversion course, which is like a post-grad thing, because I wasn't sure, do I want to be a businessman? Then I was like, I could be a lawyer. That'd be good. And then that was all happening while there was the financial crisis. So I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, a lot of the firms where I went to do work placement or whatever, they weren't hiring so often. This is a really long story. How long do you want the story to be? I realize
we have plenty of time. We have as much time as you want. And again,
I'm like, wow, I just got back in the day.
Yeah, no, this is great. Again, everything we're doing here is like so everyone can understand who you are. So yeah, go as deep as you want.
All right, I'll speed it up a little then. After university, so I'm like, okay, was it go? So, you know, the firms weren't hiring as many people as they were. That was the excuse, at least I gave myself. Maybe I just wasn't a very good interview candidate or something, but I'd done like some work placement. So I thought I'd be able to get like a decent job, but not at the level I really wanted. So I did a year abroad where I just went to work in Sri Lanka through a student organization called ISEC, which was a great experience. And after that, I was just kind of doing some work on the side, or while I was there doing some work on the side. And I got into doing like voiceover stuff. Someone back at university had said, oh, you got a nice voice. You could do something with that. So I was like, I can't remember what site it was. Maybe it was like freelancer.com, you know, one of these websites and I was like, oh yeah, okay. So I do the kind of jobs where it's like, yeah, someone picks up the phone. It's like, press 1 for sales, press 2 for accounts, you know, this kind of stuff. And then at some point, I was like, I'd like to do my own thing. So I started recording audiobooks, you know, for people. And I mean, my own thing. I mean, I'm recording other people's audiobooks, but I mean, it was better than doing like press 1 for sales.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, this could be fun. I mean, and then it was like, okay, let's see if I can do my own thing a bit more. And so I sent an email to a guy who had a website called TopTenz.net, which, if you don't know, was my first channel, which was like top 10 videos. And I was like, hey, I didn't say, should we make some videos? I was like, how about we like compile an audiobook of these? Like, I'll read them. and we'll compile it as an audiobook and we'll sell this audiobook. It'll be great. It wasn't great. No one bought it. But so I was like, we had all this audio content and I was like, what should we do with this? And I was like, let's add some images to it and put it up on YouTube and see how it goes. And so, I mean, these videos are all still up there. So if anyone wants to go back and look at my videos from 5+ years ago, they were not very good.
Okay.
But I think YouTube back then, it wasn't, like it is today. It wasn't so competitive. It wasn't like there was a ton. Like now, if you want to start a top 10s channel, it's got to look good because there's like a million top 10s channels who will destroy you if you are uploading a slideshow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so we did this, and this actually did quite well. Like this started working, and then I was like, oh wow, this is kind of what I do for a living. And then started another channel with another guy who had another website in like a similar vein. Today I found out. And then, yeah, I mean, I've got like 9 channels now or 8 channels now. I do lose track. And it was just all kind of, it like I stumbled into it in a way, but in a way it was something I always wanted to do. So that's how, really. And then
Very cool.
we just grew the channels piece by piece, slowly in some cases, faster in others. Like for top 10s, it took like 6 months. And then I was like, well, that started doing quite well after 6 months. But today I found out it took a year and a half. Biographics, which I did after that, took 6 months, 8 months. Geographics took a week. It's strange how YouTube works. But yeah, you got to stick with it, I guess, and keep making the content. And well, I mean, then it'll either work or it doesn't, but you don't know until you've done it for a while. I think Geographics, which took off very quickly, was a bit of a fluke.
Okay. So the first one was top 10s.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Yeah, so that's, first of all, definitely one of my favorites. I think it's very cool. And I think you were a pioneer in that there's so many copycats. So how does that feel almost? Is that flattering? Is that frustrating that there's so many people copying what you're doing?
I don't mind. I mean, it's not like I have a right to be the only one. I definitely wasn't the first. We were one of the first for sure, but not definitely not the first. And I think I don't know, maybe I believe competition is good. I think if there's no competition, things don't get better. If there weren't other channels doing that, then the channel would still look like it did 5 years ago, where it was slideshows and a voiceover, and it wouldn't have improved and it wouldn't have got better, and it would kind of just stagnated, and I'd be really bored. So I think while you can look at competition and be like, oh, that's really tough, it's, they're stealing my views or anything. I just think that YouTube's such a big blue ocean of stuff that I mean, when was the last time you went to YouTube and you were browsing on your homepage and you were like, oh, I'm not going to watch this because I'd rather watch that? It's like, okay, I'll watch this and then I'll watch that. It's not a lot of, I don't feel it's a super competitive place. I think it's a place where everyone can win. And if someone came to me tomorrow who I knew or was a friend or something like that and was like, I'm thinking of starting like a top 10s thing, I'd be like, great, go for it. Good for you. Here's some advice. Here's what I would do. Here's what I do. Because I think everyone can succeed.
Really? Okay. That's really cool. I think that's a really good take on it. It's almost like competition is, driving you forward and motivates you. So sticking just with the top 10s, at what point did you realize that, wow, this can be full-time and I can actually grow this into other channels?
The curve was pretty intense. Like it was like we were going along and it was growing. And you'd see this curve, of your views in analytics. But it was, a few $100s a month. But it was like, okay, every month it does grow by like 50% or something crazy.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, let's ambitiously extrapolate that out. And I'm like, wow, this isn't going to be too long before I can make a living off this. And then that curve just happened to keep going and keep going. And yeah, before long, I was. And then it just became, I don't know, it just seems like such an obvious decision in a way. If something's going well, do more of it. And I don't know, I don't know. I mean, I'm an ambitious person. I'm not a person who likes sitting around and doing the same thing all the time. I like starting new things. I like working on new projects. I have a pretty intense work ethic, I think. And if I'm not kind of working on something new and exciting, I'm going to get bored. And just, I mean, then there's also the raw business decision of if something's going well, do more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great because I was gonna ask my next question. So there's tons of YouTube personalities right there with like one, maybe two, and channels. And let's say they have one really big channel, and they'll start another one, and it doesn't get as much traction. But you are really bucking the trend here, where you have at least right. You how many channels totals do you have? 6 or 7?
8.
8. Okay, and let's say, and how many would you consider them of the big channels? 5 or 6 of them?
Yeah, 5 or
Okay.
6. Two
So
of them are very new.
So the 5 or 6 ones, that's already an incredible feat to have 5 dedicated channels. How do you explain that?
I think on YouTube, it's all about getting people to click and getting people to watch for a long time. So I've looked at the evolution of YouTube and what YouTube wants, because when I started, it was just about how many people are going to click on a video. And if they watch for just a few seconds or if they watch for 5 minutes, it doesn't really make a difference. And I can't remember what year it was, but YouTube changed how things work. And they're like, okay, it's all about how long people are watching for. So if there's a video that's, 10 minutes long and someone's watching 7 minutes of it, that's going to be rewarded more than if someone's watching 3 minutes of it. Or if there's a video that's 20 minutes long and someone's watching 12 minutes of it, that's going to be better than someone watching 9 minutes of a 10-minute video, is my understanding of how it worked. And so I think one thing I definitely did is I looked at that and I looked at what does YouTube want, because YouTube's pretty smart. And then I think they know what viewers want. And I was like, okay, so how can I provide content that I'm going to like making and is going to be like that? And for me, it just happened to work pretty great, because I'd rather make long form content. I'd rather make a 20-minute video than a 5-minute video, because I think it's better. You get into more depth. It's
Yes,
more
100% agree with you.
yeah, I think it's people can settle down and they can watch something. I don't think people really like watching 2-minute videos anymore. But I don't know, as a consumer, like a heavy consumer, if there's a video that's 2 minutes long, I'm not going to click on it, because I can't even make a cup of coffee in 2 minutes. I can't even pee in 2 minutes. It's not. I often watch in those little breaks in my day. And if it's in a longer time, like if I'm sitting down after work with a beer or something and I want to watch some YouTube, a 2-minute video it's like, that's way too much clicking for so little reward. Yeah, anyway, long videos, my whole point is to say that I like making long videos. I like watching long videos. I'm glad that YouTube rewards long videos. And so, yeah, this is just one thing that I think is aligned. And that's like being aware of what YouTube wants and then making it and enjoying making it. And then also being aware of what subjects work well. I think TopTenz was, that was my first one. So I can't say that was luck. It was like, okay, this was a good choice. People were really into TopTenz. I think people still are into TopTenz. It's not really something that's gone away. It's definitely got more competitive. And then today I found out was good topic selection. I think we really have a good idea of what's going to work. And then from there, biographics, which is what I did after that, which is kind of biographies of important people. This was more me scratching my own itch, because I love biographies. I think I looked at YouTube and I thought, there's like the biography channel is uploading some 2-minute videos that's cut down from their like TV station from several years ago or something. I didn't really know what they were doing. It wasn't very good. And I was like, why is there no biographies on YouTube? Why is there not a channel doing biographies? And this was a risk, because normally you want to look at, if there's no competition, I really don't, many people will email me and be like, Simon, I've got this great idea for a channel. It's this random idea and no one's doing it on YouTube. And I'm like, well, if no one's doing it, there's probably not demand. You haven't been the first person to come up with this genius idea that no one's ever tried, because there are millions of people trying things. I generally believe if it's not on there, it's because there's not demand. Right. And I mean, maybe.
No, I think you're right. That makes sense.
But there could be small niches and stuff. And I don't want to write it off entirely, because you look at some of the most innovative channels, and they are truly kind of off the wall, strange things. And then you will have pretenders come later. I mean, in a way, who was the first person to upload themselves playing a video game? Because who would have thought that would have been a big thing 20 years ago? Like playing games in the 90s or whatever. Who would have ever thought people want to watch me play this and talk about playing it? It's a bizarre idea, but it's enormously popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and then, so biographics was just me thinking, I'd like to do something about this. And then geographics was much more of a, like this seems like it would work. There seems to be some content in the geography space, not quite like this, not like in that long form that I know YouTube likes. And so I was like, okay, that seems like a good space to move into. Let's do that. And then I did a business channel after that because I was like, that's another one where I'm like, I also find that particularly interesting. And I was like, let's do something like that. And then I've recently started a channel about mega engineering projects, because it's always like, it's this blend of like, what do I find interesting? What do I think people are going to watch? Because if it's one or the other, it's not going to work. Because if it's just something I find interesting that no one's going to watch, part of creative fulfillment is having people watch the stuff you make. And then also, if it's just the other way around, if I'm making content that I don't care about, then it's going to get pretty hard to go into the office pretty quick.
Yeah. So that's awesome, again, that you started a new channel. So that just kind of really brings me to my next question, which I'm sure everyone's worried about. How in the world do you have how in the world do you have the time to do so many channels? It seems like you're coming out with a new video almost every day on at least one of the channels.
Yeah, I do. It's about 20 videos a week, slightly more than 20 videos a week. And it's a whole bunch of things. I have great partners, like most, other than the engineering channel and the business channel, I work with partners. So
Okay.
who will generally manage the written content side of things. And then I will manage the video side of things. So if you're a solo YouTuber going at it, then obviously you have to do both those sides, which I have to do with my new channels, which is a whole other learning experience. But I mean, instantly, so that's going to take away a whole bunch of work from someone who would be running this solo. But obviously, you know, there's disadvantages. Well, not really. I really like it. I think it's a great model. I mean, the obvious disadvantage is it's a shared business, so you're splitting the money with someone. But I think the reward of that is that you get to split the work, you get to split the decisions, you have someone who's in it with you, which is really nice. When we got our top 10 channel hacked this week, which was, it's been a super intense week. Some dudes broke in and like we're locked out of the channel currently, and it sucks. But it's nice to have someone who I'm just like, hey, Shell, this sucks, right? Rather than just being alone in my office thinking how much it sucks, you know?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, obviously. I think also having a good team, like staff, people who write, people who edit, people who manage and upload and do all this stuff. Because I mean, I'm running 8 channels. It's almost like, I mean, I feel I'm a small business person, but it's like managing a little micro production company, and everyone's kind of in Trello and moving their little cards around and doing all of these things. And yeah, just keeping it super organized. I also work a lot. There's no hiding from that fact. I work long hours and I don't take breaks. And I don't know, because I am so grateful that every day I get to go into my little studio and I get to do something that I like. So it's hard to keep me away. It's hard to make me take a lunch break. It's hard to make me take a break, because either I really want to do it or I'm just like grateful for the fact that I can do it. So yeah, I work a lot. That's definitely definitely a part of it. And organization. I've always been a pretty organized person, and this has pushed that to the max. Like, I am looking for every efficiency everywhere, from with anything, like in my personal life, in my work life, just squeezing every little thing out of every moment. And that makes a big difference.
Yeah. And when it comes to the research, how is that getting done? Because it's so in depth and it's so accurate.
Yeah.
I would love to hear about that.
It depends which channel. On Today I found out, there's always a team of writers involved. So whichever channel it is, it'll just be a different team or a different group, and then editors and all of this. So, I mean, I don't do it myself. There's no way I could do it myself. I always came in as the video person and kind of the host. So I don't do any of the writing or the research myself. So I can't speak on it at really any sort of reasonable depth. But yeah, I mean, we work with a team.
Okay. And so if you're, as you said, you're not doing the research, but I would love to know kind of the decision-making process and the thought process of picking content. So I think that's really interesting.
That's something I do. God, it's in depth. So where do you want to start? Like in terms of I've got nothing, and then I'm like, how do I decide on
Yeah.
choosing a topic for a specific channel? I guess it's
Yeah.
kind of similar across all channels.
Yeah, let's do like biographics, for example. Okay, you're sitting there and it's like, okay, I need a new episode.
First thing I will always start with is I'll look over the last 30 days of our performance and see which people have stuck out. So if we'll look at, we'll go back 30 days and I'll see like, oh, Cornelius Vanderbilt did really well. No idea why. Apparently, I didn't even know if he did, but assume he did. I know we did him recently. I don't know how he's done. But every Monday, this is my process. And I'll look through and I'll be like, okay, he did well. So I'll Google search Cornelius Vanderbilt. And then you see on Google, whenever you type something in, it's got people also searched for.
Yeah.
And so you'll get like, I don't know, Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Right. The list will go on of like, the robber barons of the 19th and early 20th centuries. And I'll just be like, okay, potentially this guy, potentially this guy, potentially this guy. I'll have a little search around YouTube, see if anyone's like really done anything good. If a big channel or like someone has really done a piece on like Andrew Carnegie and it's done terribly, then I might be like, okay, let's not do Andrew Carnegie. Like if is just not apparently something YouTube's interested in. But generally, that's not the case. And those Google suggested people are who I will then be like, okay, let's press forward on those guys. Another one will be, how else? I'll click on Andrew Carnegie. Let's say he's done well, and to have a look in the suggested videos. So often you'll find, videos about the robber barons, like another channel, or maybe my channel's done top 10 robber barons. So I'll click on that and I'll watch the video. And I'll be like, okay, well, this is like a 10-minute video with 10 robber barons. And I'll write down those robber barons and I'll pick the ones that I find most interesting and be like, let's do these guys. It's, yeah. I guess it's not that complicated. I was like, this is a really complicated process. It's like, no, I just Google it.
Okay, so let's stick with the Andrew Carnegie example. Okay, so you've decided I'm going to do a video on Andrew Carnegie. Then what happens?
Then we have like an online forum where we have, the writers and me and Shell, who I do the biographics channel with, and I'll put it in there and I'll be like, hey guys, thinking about Andrew Carnegie. And then I'll start that as a thread. And then someone will jump in, one of the writers will jump in and say like, yes, I'd love to do Andrew Carnegie. I'll take him. Or if no one finds him interesting, it'll gradually sink down to the bottom of the forum. And then eventually I'll be like, hey, can someone take this guy, please? Because I think he'll do well. And then someone will be like, yeah, okay, I'll take him. Or they might be like, I don't think there's enough to... I mean, Andrew Carnegie's a bad example because there's definitely going to be enough to do on him. But, sometimes it'll be someone else who it just be like, I don't think there's enough to do on him. I don't think it's interesting enough. And then I'll be like, okay, cool. I'll go find someone else. There's plenty of notable historic figures to cover. And speaking of that, just to say, it's not just always about specific people. Like, I think I didn't highlight enough how important the group is. So if robber barons, like if we do two, like if Henry Ford and Andrew Carnegie did well, which I think they did, we would just be like, all right, robber barons is the new theme. So we'd just make every robber baron that you've heard of, or every Egyptian pharaoh that you've heard of, or every leader of whatever nation, because these threads, especially with biographies, Roman emperors. Like once we did one, it just, I don't know, maybe we started off with Julius Caesar and it just did crazy well. So we're like, okay, let's just do Vespasian. Let's just do whoever the next guy was. And we just did them all. And we keep doing them all and they always do well. So you can really find these groups that, will keep working for you over the long term. And especially working with sponsors, it's like when we know, okay, we need to get, we're going to have to do a make good, or we're not going to get paid as much if we don't hit that, 100K or whatever the cap is, which we need to hit. And we'll be like, okay, well, we know if we do a Roman emperor, we're going to make it. Whereas if we do, a 20th century scientist who no one's heard of, maybe it'll do really well, but we're not going to be able to guarantee that. So we really, it's unlikely that something we know is going to hit won't hit. It happens, but it's unlikely.
Okay. Kind of touched on the world of sponsorships, because I'm always curious from a creator aspect, like how do you feel about that that entire situation?
I like it. I mean, I'm I like commerce. I think it's something I've never had a problem with adverts. I've never had a problem with sponsors or watching them or any of this. And I think the vast majority of people don't. I think that people are aware of the value exchange. Advertising for content, for free content, has been something that has been around forever. I like that now it can be entertaining. Like when I make an ad for, I don't know, I've got a Dollar Shave Club box in front of me. When I make an ad for Dollar Shave Club, I can make it in my style. I can make it fun. I can make a joke about shaving my head because I have a giant beard, you know? It's better than just like a 15-second pre-roll ad that is the same one that you're jumping to click on the smash skip ad button as quick as you can. I think it's good. And obviously from the business perspective, I like getting paid because it's a part of life.
Yeah. And so I guess I watch you a lot. Most of your stuff is sponsored. Do you reach out? Do they reach out to you? I think a lot of people who are listening, or are going to listen, don't understand how the entire world of like sponsored native advertising works.
It's definitely changed over time. So when I think it was TopTenz never really drew quite as much sponsorship as attention. Like that never really kicked off as a thing. But for some reason, I don't know what the reason was. Today I found out really did. That was my second channel. And as soon as we started getting to a certain size, just emails started coming in. So the contact on the, you know, where you click about this channel and there's the email address.
Yeah.
And, you know, at first they were kind of bad. Like, you know, I don't really want to promote that product or that mobile game or stuff like this. And then as we started getting bigger, they started getting pretty good. And so then it was a general hassle because I was like, okay. So I'd send someone an email and they're like, yeah, we want to do this. And I'll be like, great, that sounds awesome. So you send me the, I don't know, I won't name any specific companies, obviously, but like send me some product. I'll try it out. If we like it, we'll get a deal going. And then it was like a million email back and forths and like contracts and payments and all of this nonsense that is just quite painful. And yeah, so this went on, and then we got better at it, obviously, as you do over time.
Yeah.
And yeah, so a lot of it was incoming. And then at some point we hired, and my partner really led this charge, so not really led by me, but we hired a dude who I think he worked for my partner's brother, and he does like our business development. So now all of those emails just go to him, like it's advertising. Today I found out, and he does all the negotiations and he deals with all the contracts and all the payments and all of this stuff that was a headache. And he's just like, hey, Simon, there's a new deal in the Trello. Like Trello's our project management tool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. And all the details are in there. I go in and I do what I like to do, which is look at the brief, make it my own, try and make it funny and not lame. And then, put it in a video and try to make it as painless and hopefully fun as possible, so people actually watch it and support the channel, so that sponsors will keep sponsoring us and we can keep doing what we do. So essentially at the beginning, incoming, kind of painful, but we got better at it. Then we hired a guy to kind of handle it all. And but at that point, obviously we didn't do that until it was profitable to hire a guy to handle this for us. So
that's I think it's awesome that again, a lot of people don't realize this, but you know, from that little, you know, let's say 1 minute sponsorship in the middle of your video allows you to put out tons of more content. And if that as a viewer is the cost of my time, you know, 1 minute, I'm like super on board with that. But was there a point when you said, wow, like this is a full-time job, like I could make a living and a successful living off of this?
Sort of. I mean, it's been such a steady growth. It's not like one day it was like, oh my God, wow, this is great. It's just been over the years, it has just ramped up and up and up. And yeah, now we're at a really good place. And that's really cool. I'm trying to think. I think early on, it was really when it kind of started making, you know, or just on the AdSense alone with TopTenz, when it started making like a few grand a month American. And I was like, wow, you know, this is really good money. And then I was like, this is money that I'd make if I was in a job. And then it was like, this is money that I'd make if I was in a really good job. And then it got better than that. And I was like, this is a little bit crazy. And then I started just working really hard because I don't know. Another thing as a YouTuber, you're like, damn, I mean, you look at some people's YouTube and it's just one day it all goes away. And I'm like, make hay while the sun. Another reason why I make so many channels is just make hay while the sun's shining, you know? Like you don't know what it's going to be like tomorrow or next year, and things change.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Driven by fear.
I mean, yeah, well, so far, man, it's done really well. And the stuff you're putting out is awesome. Interesting that you spoke about a second ago, the Dollar Shave Club thing, and you being bald. So is that something, I guess, so you can't, again, just my opinion, you can't really change your look, right? Your bald beard glasses look is.
Yeah, I'm locked in now forever. Period.
Yeah, how is that, is that
something like never shave your beard?
Literally, is that something that you thought like, wow, I have to wear glasses or I need to never shave my beard again?
When I started this, I wasn't really, I mean, I held on to my hair for as long as I could. I think when I was on camera, I was already bald. Like, I mean, I'm like 32, but I'm fully old man bald, just the hair around the sides. And I have been since I was like 27.
Okay.
So I held on to it for as long as possible. And then I was like, all right, I just got to embrace the shaved head look. And then, I don't know, I think one summer, I was just like, I'm going to grow a beard. Why not? And then at that point, I was on, camera on YouTube. People were like, never get rid of the beard. And I was like, okay, I guess I just crowdsourced my image advice. So I never got rid of the beard. And I've always worn glasses. I didn't in the beginning because I didn't have, it's so dumb. There's this thing called an anti-reflective coating, which you can have put on glasses. Okay. And I never wore my glasses because they'd always reflect the studio lights. And then I got this anti-reflective coating thing and learned how to position my lights better. So I could finally wear my glasses and not have to have the text on the teleprompter absolutely massive.
Okay. Yeah. So you're reading from a teleprompter, because I really can't tell in your video.
No. I'm glad you can't tell. Possibly my greatest skill now is teleprompter reading and making it look like I'm not reading from a teleprompter.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, people master this. I mean, you look at the news and it's like, they're reading from a teleprompter, but you very quickly forget it. Right. I think like a trick that it's so weird how you can look back on all of these things that led you to where you are. Like when I was at school, one of the things that I would love to do is, or people would ask me to do, when you're in English class and you'd read the book. So you'd read it aloud and you'd go through and you'd do this. I love doing this. And I got good at this. And the teachers were always like, Simon, read the book for longer. Just read the book to us. And you get good at reading, the line ahead. So, you're never reading aloud on the word you're on. You're always like a line or two ahead. And I just transferred this to the teleprompter. So I'm reading the teleprompter and you just get good at it, You're just reading that line ahead. And then, so if you see something weird coming up, you've already read it aloud in your head before it goes to your mouth. And boom, there you go. It doesn't look like you're reading a teleprompter.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great skill. Because I was wondering, I guess I thought that maybe you do just when you're showing your face, the quick bits, and then you do the voiceover, which I'm sure you do afterwards when you guys have, when your face is not on screen, but it's still really good.
No, it's all teleprompted. Even the voiceover afterwards, I'll just record it then and there, because I mean it's as easy, and why make the extra work for myself afterwards? This is like every little efficiency in the recording process, I will be on it. And just because then it was like, okay, so I'd have to go over and do it on a studio mic or whatever. And yes, if I did it on which, on the studio mics, you can get really close, they're more expensive, they sound richer. But I really think it just adds like a small thing, a small bump in quality that I don't think anyone is ever going to really notice or care about. If I was making a movie, of course you'd do it that way. But I'm making, that sounds bad to say I'm just making YouTube videos. But no. I don't mean it like that. I'm not making a movie, essentially. Yeah. And if I was, I don't have like a production team. I don't have this, I don't have that. It's simpler. And by simplifying it, I can make more of the stuff that actually people care about and that matters.
Yeah. That's interesting that you said, you're not just, it's just YouTube, but I definitely don't. And, I'm glad you corrected yourself there. I mean, you're putting out on the internet for the entire world, really high quality long form content. I think it's incredible. We were talking at the beginning, like the 20-minute type of things. And again, how does that kind of make you feel that you're almost, I mean, you're a teacher essentially to millions of people all over the world,
Yeah,
whether
no,
you realize it or not?
that whole thing about getting to go into the office every day and doing something that I like and why I work so hard, because I find this all extremely cool.
Yeah.
Like that's the only way. Short answer, it's extremely cool.
Hmm.
It's yeah. I'm lucky, and I try to realize that I'm lucky every day because it's extremely cool.
Yeah, I mean, again, like kind of when I said in the intro, like you definitely helped me through a lot of my history classes, but it's crazy. I mean, to think that here you are recording from your studio, and I guess there are people all over the world who are using you for, to better themselves, which is incredible.
Yeah, so really, it's nice, and people email, and as toxic as YouTube comments can be, the vast majority, like you go into YouTube comments, you're going to see some people being dicks, but the vast
Yeah.
majority is always going to be, or at least in my experience, has been enormously positive. And people are like, wow, this is so great. You explained this to me better than anyone can. I can listen to you for hours. I've learned so much. And then, of course, people email as well, and Twitter, and all of this stuff. And yes, it's a really nice feeling. It's really nice to be able to do something that I enjoy doing and know that there's relating it back to that whole thing of part of that creative fulfillment is having people watch it and enjoy it and learn from it, and just being a part of that is yeah, it's a really nice experience.
Mhm.
It's
So
a nice thing to do.
speaking of the big bad, as I always say, the big bad comment section on YouTube. So you guys
Yeah.
are, I mean, you're not dealing with anything decisive per se, but a lot of the stuff is either political in nature or definitely historic in nature. Have you come into problems where people are like, well, no, that's wrong, and that's kind of fact checking you to like an extreme?
Yeah, for sure. I don't have a problem if we get something wrong. If it's a factual inaccuracy, that's great. Like, I mean, it's not great. We screwed up. I apologize. It's fine. Like, if the comment is worthy of pinning, I will pin it. I might add something to the description, this kind of thing. Generally, the bigger issue is where people have an opposing opinion, or they believe something that I believe is not true. Sort of, if we'll bring up a conspiracy theory, or if we'll bring up something where the science is, 90%, or I believe 90% on my side, they believe 90% on their side, but there's enough room for it to be, for an opinion to creep in. And I think that's where it's kind of a factual inaccuracy is like, hey, this was wrong. And I'm like, oh, yes, this was wrong. When it's something like a conspiracy theory, people are like, oh, have you not seen this? Have you not seen that? You're so stupid. People get so impassioned about it. So, I don't know, worked up. And I don't really engage with that, I guess. It used to bother me. It still bothers me sometimes, I think, but not as much as it used to. You grow a pretty thick skin being on YouTube,
Yeah. All those keyboard
do.
warriors. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Even from afar, you're in Prague, and people are writing from halfway around the world. But so, what would you say your relationship with your fans is? Yeah, like, because I know, again, it's like a trust issue. Everyone really trusts you in a great way.
It's interesting, right? I think it's changed. It's definitely changed. A couple of years ago, even, or more, even more recently, than I think it was trusted authority. Like on a subject, it would be like, if I want to learn about something, I would look at a Simon video, whatever channel it's on, and I hope it's going to be entertaining and it's going to be educational, and you're going to have a good time learning something. And 99.9% of the time, it's going to be accurate, and we're not going to screw something up.
Mm-hmm.
And however, also on top of that, the content's it wasn't heavily personality driven. So, I'm there and I'm presenting information, but it's not a lot of me. Like in this interview, this is me, and it's obviously different to a video because I'm not reading off a teleprompter. I'm kind of thinking off the top of my head, probably sounding less intelligent than a lot of people think I am.
No, you're coming across very, very well, I have to say.
Or like, I pause, in real life, and I say like, and and because that's how real life is. And I think there I go again. I know, very aware of it. What I've done recently, as of last year, was I wanted to just get a bit more personality into the content because it's something I wanted to do. I thought it could be fun. So I started a channel called Business Blaze, which is, are you familiar with this?
Yeah, I've seen a few of the stuff, but I'm sure a bunch of people listening are not. So yeah, I'd love to hear more.
Yeah. Which is, I don't know, I just had this idea that it would be good to do more personality. And then I was like, okay, but how can I do it with facts and personality? And it was really weird and difficult. And I experimented with a bunch of different formats. And then I just printed off the scripts that I had a writer, who's Danny, who's kind of like the absent co-host in the show. And then I just read off his script and comment on it as I go along. And yeah, this is really fun to make. And I've got like a little group of people who always be like, hey, I'm working on something new. Would you tell me if it's dumb or not, or if it's good? And I was like, I think this is really bad. I was like, I don't think this is good. And so I sent it to like 5 people and they're like, I think this is probably the best. And I'm like, okay. And then I was still like, no, I'm pretty sure it's terrible. So then I sent it out to a bunch more people and everyone seemed to think it was pretty good. So I was like, okay, let's push it live. And fortunately, people seem to really like this. It's early days. But sorry, the whole question was about I am so off topic waffler.
Oh, that was great. This is like podcast. Let's just get into, we want to hear you, right? That's what we're here to listen to. But yeah,
just cut me off if I start waffling like mad, because I get off topic.
This is great. We like guests coming off topic.
So, now I've completely lost my train of thought. I was talking about Business Blaze and how it was working.
Yep, it was good.
Yeah, so that's that the journey has been like, I still do the authoritative stuff. And in fact, Business Blaze and the personality stuff has been working so well that I was talking to my partner on that channel and he was like, dude, we got to get some of that into this. So now in Today I Found Out, if something crazy happens, I'll just be like, what? And I'll make a comment and an aside. And all the comments now, like as much as YouTube, I almost feel like people talk about YouTube comments being toxic more than they actually are. Like, I don't know, it's not that bad. But I look at the comments and people are like, this is like, I see some Business Blaze creeping into Today I Found Out and I love it. So I'm like, okay, let's keep going. Let's do more of that. And it's an evolving process. I've been doing this a few years and things change. And I'm always looking to get better and work out what's working and do more of what's working and cut out the stuff that isn't.
Yeah. So maybe this is controversial, but do you have a favorite channel? I'm sure that's what people want to know.
It's always what I'm working on the latest,
Okay.
It's like, because it's like, it's new and it's exciting and you're like, oh, like my new one is Mega Projects, which is all about engineering. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to make a video about the Kola super deep borehole. It's a borehole that is like 10,000 meters dug into the earth. It's just crazy. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about doing new graphics and how it's going to look and new music. And I had like a B camera on a slider for the first time. And yeah. But I mean, it's such a small thing, but it's just exciting because it's new. It's always new.
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, that's wow. Besides the fact that you make money and you are a professional YouTuber for a living, I'm sure you're making a lot of people jealous you get to try all these new things every day, which is so cool.
I don't mean to. I'd encourage anyone who wants to take a crack at doing this to do it, because if it works and you find like a good subject or a good topic and make a good channel, it's extremely rewarding.
Yeah. Again, it's just like, so who thinks that they're going to wake up one day and be like, oh yeah, I'm a, world famous YouTuber and making money off of it and
Well,
enjoying it.
I don't think that. Normally, I think, what am I going to have for breakfast? And then I go, and don't get me wrong, it's not like I live in some fantasy worlds where every day it's like a dream. Every day I go to the office and I grind out 12 hours of basically sitting at my computer for 50% of the time, sitting in front of a camera for 50% of the time, and probably another 50% of the time adding up to 150, which doesn't make sense. But I mean, I got a lot to do.
Yeah.
It's hard work, and a lot of it is a grind. And after 2 hours of recording, it's like, I don't really want to record more, but there's this thing I need to do tomorrow. And I think I just look at it, it's like, I go to work. This is, it's what I do. I'm going to go sit in front of that camera, and if I'm not going to have a good time recording it, it's going to look like I'm having a good time recording it at the very least. Because otherwise you get a video that you can't use because people know when you're bored.
Do you watch yourself or no? Are you watching content?
Everything.
Yeah, even after it goes onto YouTube?
No, I'll watch it before it goes live. So yeah, I watch everything I make without fail because one, I want to make sure it's good, and two, I think that you improve by watching yourself. Like you can see, okay, this worked, this didn't work. You learn.
Yeah. So you have this. I think it's in total, you have something like over 6 million subscribers combined. Yeah. So and I saw you did an awesome live document, not live, but an awesome mini documentary with Google. So
yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. I'm sure people want to know, do you have more things like that in the pipelines, or is there a possible transition to something, bigger or on regular television, anything like that?
I have an interesting, that sounds bold. I find it interesting that I have changed my opinion on this. When I first started doing this, if you asked me 3 years ago what the coolest thing to do would be, I'd be like, documentary series, like for the BBC, to be like, Simon, we realize you're the greatest presenter ever.
Okay.
We've decided that you're going to replace Sir David Attenborough as the host of this. Okay. I'll be like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And to be fair, that would be absolutely epic. And in the entire realm of fantasy. But this sort of thing would be like my absolute top of the dream goal, doing something on TV. It's a few years later, and I'm like, I like the control that I have. I like what I do. I used to like traveling for work. Then I did 1 year where I seemed to travel like 8 times for work. And then I didn't like traveling for work anymore. So when I could stay home, and I've got a wife and a kid, and I like spending time with them, and they put up with a fairly punishing work schedule from me anyway. So if I'm going off to do a week of video somewhere, that's tough because I work long hours in the week. Like I take most weekends off, but in the week I'm grinding away 12 hours minimum. And yeah, just my life has changed. My perspective on what I want to do has changed. My feeling about where the future of the space has probably changed as well. Like I think looking at platforms like, of course, Netflix, Hulu, Curiosity Stream, the big documentary platform, and stuff like this, I think this is far more of the future, and where my, not my career necessarily, but where the world, the content consuming world, the content creation world is heading, is not where it was. And I think because I grew up with how it was, I held that in a very high regard. And I think as my career has developed, as my thoughts have developed, I've grown less interested in that.
Okay.
And I think in terms of like where I want to go next, I'd like to just do more of what I'm doing now. I mean, at some point, sure, I guess there's something else out there, but I'm very satisfied, and I think I will be for a while.
Cool. I think that I look at you, and I know a lot of people in the space look at you as a brand, right? Like you're beyond necessarily a specific channel. Do you feel that way, that like Simon Whistler is a brand?
I work hard on it. There was okay when it was a couple of years into doing top tens, and multi-channel networks, right? MCNs.
Mhm.
We signed up with an MCN who will remain nameless for legal reasons, and they absolutely sucked so hard. And everyone will know, if you're a YouTube creator, you'll know who I'm talking about, because every person online just will talk about how much they suck. But they did have one really good piece of advice, and this was like the one piece of advice after giving them 10% of everything for a year. Was I used to just voice over it. So at the beginning, because remember, it was we had this audiobook stuff that we turned into YouTube videos, and then when it started working, it was just voiceover, like a lot of top 10 channels are and certainly were. And they were like, get on camera. And I was like, okay, that's a bit different. It's not something I've done before. I'm not exactly Brad Pitt. And they were like, no, but you look smart and people will like this. And I'm like, okay, well, let's give it a go. And so we did that. And that was kind of the first time I became more than just random disembodied voice. And then that was a really good decision, because that started like me as a brand rather than just as a narrator or a presenter. And I think now, especially with the personality content that I mentioned, like doing stuff like Business Blaze and bringing it into Today I Found Out, and the new channel Mega Projects is somewhere between the two. That is, it's something I want to do, but it's also something I know I should do, because it builds me as a brand. And I think personal branding is so important from a business perspective, because if I have a closer relationship, if people like me and they see my stuff and they're like, Simon's cool, and I hope I hope that's what people think of me. Right, Simon the massive rambler. Then that's good. That's good for people coming back and watching more of my stuff. That's good for when I make a Dollar Shave Club ad and people are like, oh, I'll just buy this because Simon says it's cool.
Mhm.
And I think if I have that, and if I have integrity about what I promote, then that's kind of a win for me from a business perspective. It's a win for, I hope, the audience, because it's more fun. Yeah. So, yeah. I don't even remember what the question was. Did I answer it?
Yes, you did actually, Brad. Like,
Okay.
like how is you think of Simon Whistler the brand?
Yeah, that's right.
Was that a big decision to go from behind the camera and kind of the audiobook stuff to on screen?
Yeah, I trusted these guys. They were like, do it. And I was like, okay, I'll take your advice. I'd been doing this 2 years. I didn't know what I was doing. And they were like, do this. And I was like, okay. And no, that worked out. And then I actually have a guy, I don't know what I'd call him, like, I guess a consultant. And he was, I started working with him 6 months ago, 8 months ago, before any of this personality content. And he was like, dude, you've got to get more personality in there. I think he listened to the podcast and was like, people do like how you are. You're not a dick. So generally get some of that personality into the content. And I was like, okay, that's weird. But no, that was probably the second biggest pivot of my YouTube career so far. Getting on camera and then actually being heavily me on camera.
Okay.
Which is also weird, because it's like, it's much more personal. It's much more like I'm putting myself out there. And then if I have an opinion about something, it's not like I can be like, oh, I didn't write that. Like, I just read it. It's like, no, that's kind of my opinion. And you'll have people being like, that's dumb. And I'll be like, yes, that might be.
But that's the beauty of YouTube, right? Like where the relationship between fan and content creator is so close. It's so immediate, and it's awesome that you can bring out your personality, because it's just going to make fans, relate to you even more.
I hope so. I see that with Business Blaze a lot, and it's fun. And yeah, it's fun. It's like, I don't know. I'm a social guy. Like I definitely describe myself as an extrovert, and I love, you know, going to dinner and just talking with people, friends, family. It's great. And I think having that personality stuff on Business Blaze or on Today I Found Out now as well, it's like when people are in the comments, it's like, let's just continue the super one-sided conversation I was having. And, people will be like, that was clever or that was dumb. And I'll be like, yeah, well, you're dumb. And, but it's fun, it's like, it's just a bit of banter or whatever. And it's a good time.
Yeah. So I'm glad again that you brought up. You're just great. This is great. My question.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll just absolutely waffle like crazy, and then you can pick out random tangents.
Yeah. No, it makes my job very easy. So great. So now something I've been wondering, right? You have all this wealth of information, and I understand, it's so much, and you probably don't retain all of it. But in your
when am I going to go on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Well, yes, definitely. I mean, I feel like they won't let you on any of those shows. It's but do you, in your personal life, are a lot of the video topics things or the channel topics things that you discuss in your daily life, whether it's biographics, geographics?
I mentioned I like going out and hanging out with my friends. They don't like hanging out with me anymore because I'll be like, oh yeah, that I made a video about that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like I had to rein that in so hard because I realized it became quite annoying because you'd be like, oh yeah, I did make a video about it. Let me tell you about that. Or, people have headline stuff a lot. And when you've done something in a lot more depth, it's like, it's really tempting to be like, oh, well, actually, that's not true. But, then I also want people to like me. So I learned to rein that in pretty quick.
That is a good point. Are you, so obviously you're such like your face is such a big on-screen presence. Do you get stopped a lot walking around, or you're kind of anonymous out there in Prague?
I live in Prague. So, I mean, now not at all because we all have to live inside, but I don't know, maybe like once or twice a month, but it's rare. It's rare here. I go to the US and it'll be like, yeah, okay, it's different here. It's weird. It's weird. Okay. It's quite strange, but
yeah. Do you like that? It's weird. It's like, oh, please leave me alone. Let me just live my life. Or
no. It's so rare, or it's such a novelty for me, even now, like, cause it's, if I'm not there, and even in the UK, it's way less. It's weird. No, I like it. And it's novel to me still. And I don't know, feels pretty good. You're like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, like when you go to a restaurant and they're like, oh, Mr. Whistler, what a pleasure. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah. No, that is really cool. And by the way, so you do everything on site in Prague, like all the video editing and things like that?
Yeah. I actually bought, I got an amazing deal I was renting, I worked at home for the first 3 years, just in my living room.
Okay.
And then I rented a small office just near my apartment because I was like, okay, I should probably have a little studio space I could go to. And it was really small and it wasn't expensive, but it wasn't cheap. And then I was like, the mortgage rates were really low. It was 2% or something. So I was like, I bet I could make the finances work on buying a place. And then I could put proper lights in. I could knock, not knock walls down, but knock things around and put pictures up and make it really awesome. And I found just an extraordinary deal on a basement space in an apartment building. So I just have this, it's just me in this 120 square meter giant office space. And I just built loads of sets and it's awesome. And it's cheaper than what the rent I was paying on my office previously. So this was really solid.
Is that, so I think I've start seeing in some of your videos, you have that really cool SW logo on a brick wall. Is that space?
Sorry?
Is that the space that you're recording in now?
That's one of the spaces. So is this a video podcast or are we just doing audio? Oh, and at that moment.
The internet quality is it looks like it's just going to be an audio for everyone out there. I'm sorry that they cannot see.
I'll describe it then. So sitting behind me now is what I call Studio One. And that's where I record TopTenz and Today I Found Out. And that's the one with the neon sign in the background and then the desk there. And then the kind of camera obviously facing that. And then in front of me now, I have what I call Studio 2, which is where I film biographics, geographics, and visual politic. And it's kind of a similar setup, same size room. And then in the middle here, I have like this hallway space where I have like my main desk, like podcasting area. And then in the back, there's like a couple more rooms, which one is just a empty room that I call like my office, but I never work in there because I just work at the podcasting desk. And then there's like a Studio 3, which is where I film the new channel Megastructures. Oh, I also film business plays on the SW neon sign set. So it's great. Like before, everything was on a green screen before because the room was so small that it's like you had to do a green screen because you know that's your options. And yeah, it was always a pain. And then I'd have to move things around, and I'd always be moving lights and tripping over things and breaking things. It was because I mean the room was like 15 square meters, and I was filming 3 or 4 channels in there. And yeah, I mean you got studio lights, you got a green screen. It was compact.
Yeah. Well, awesome job on the, getting the new space.
It was cool. It was a great, like, I've had it a year and a half and it has not worn off. It's great.
It's like that every time you open the door. It's like, oh, thank God. Yes.
Yeah. It's like a content creation lair.
Yes.
Like, I just come in and it's like, and it's so quiet because you're in a basement. I mean, there's windows because it's like a semi-submerged basement.
Yeah.
And it's so quiet. No one disturbs me here. I work alone. Our whole team are remote. So I just go in, work, go home.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's kind of the dream. So something we talked about is kind of you doing some similar content from other people. I was curious, is there like are you in touch with other creators in your space, whether it's the history stuff on YouTube? Is there like kind of a community of you guys, or just you kind of?
Yeah, I mean, there is a bit. It's a bit complicated. In my space, there's a lot of, edutainment creators, I think is what we'd call ourselves.
Yeah.
And I tend to meet these guys like at VidCon or, stuff like that. And this is great, but it's only like once a year.
Right.
And there's a big group of them who are part of an agency called Standard, and they kind of do all their ads. And I think they've done it seems like a really great agency and a great company for doing this kind of stuff. And they've built quite a strong community around like edutainment creators. And I think that's their bread and butter. And, they've obviously, I mean, not obviously, that sounds arrogant. They've asked me to be a part of it. But because we do all our, ad sourcing, most of it internally with our ad guy, we haven't joined up with them. So I think they have quite a good community going on, which I'm not really a part of. I'm not a part of, which is, it's fine. Like sometimes I'm like, it'd be good to be part of like a bigger group of people, but I also don't, most of the time I'm like, I don't really have time for this. I do what I do. I go to work and I kind of like doing that.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, then also you have complete freedom if you're kind of, on your own doing whatever you want. No one's kind of bogging you down.
Yeah. As much as I'm a social guy, also a bit of a lone wolf sometimes. So like, I'm pretty happy just doing my own thing. If it's not working, then it's a different matter. And it's like, okay. But when it's working, I'm pretty happy to just grind away.
Yeah. Have you done, by the way, speaking of other creators, have you done collaborations with other creators, or is there something in the pipeline?
Nothing in the pipeline. Done like a few things. I feel question for you, when you think about collaborations, what do you think people do these for?
Listen, so on a personal, obviously I'm a big fan of you, so I'll give you, but I love cooking YouTube, right? Like I'm a huge cooking guy. So I saw, I'm not sure if you like Joshua Weissman, who's up and coming, did a collaboration with Binging with Babish. So I don't know. Honestly, maybe I'm naive here, but I feel like it's an up and comer who needs the help of, the big established guy. And he's just helping someone out, trying to get out there.
Yeah. Generally then, like there's a couple of really small creators who, my biggest interaction with this, because I read all my emails, I get a ton of email, but I read them all. I can't possibly reply to them all. But often, I get the classic, hey, Simon, I'm thinking about doing a channel, or I'm doing this channel, or I'm working on this, or I'm doing that. will you check it out? And like
Yeah.
most of the time, I'm like, okay, this really needs some work. Like, or this isn't really, or the biggest one is I haven't even started yet. And I'm
Right.
like, start and then ask me what I think, because it's at least make some effort, because I think that's the hardest thing. Occasionally someone will email me and I'll click on it and I'll be like, whoa, dude, you got like 1,000 subscribers, but this is the best thing I've ever seen. There's a dude who makes a channel called Skill Tree, where he just learns to do skills and makes them and then teaches people how to do them. And it's highly produced. The guy's entertaining. The videos are the right length. It's beautifully shot. He makes all these cool things. And I'm like, the dude's got like 4,000 subscribers or something. And I'm like, what's going on? This is the best thing ever. So he emailed me and I was like, yeah, cool. I'm definitely going to source it, so I'll be like, hey, time for a plug. I get nothing from this. So it won't be a collaboration because that'll take forever. I'll just be like, go subscribe to this guy, guys, because it deserves more. And it's the best thing I've seen in ages. And it needs 1 million subscribers, not 4,000. So chop,
Rally the troops. Get him that.
Yeah, I mean, this is true. And then there's other channels as well. Kind of, I don't know how I come across them. There's these guys. I'm not even American, but they do like American investing. But they're so entertaining, and they make these something about like high production values that just gets to me. I don't know why, because I just sit at a set. I don't go out and film anything. But these guys called Dumb Money who make these investing videos, which aren't particularly useful to me, but they're super entertaining, and they talk about like companies they invested in stuff and mistakes they've made and personal finance. And I'm like, this is super interesting. And they've only got like 40,000. So I think I gave them a plug in a video a while back. But no, it's more just, I guess I do a few plugs and stuff, but not collaborations. It's been a long time because they're so time consuming.
Yeah.
And also for me, I live in Prague. It's not like there's other channels nearby who I can just easily pick up and go do a collab with.
Yeah. That's like interesting that you spoke about those investing guys with the high production and kind of the endless budgets. If you did, right, again, very theoretical, if you did have like endless budget, would you want to do on-site stuff?
Not right now.
Okay.
Not right now, because you got to go. You got to travel. It's so time consuming. And yeah, I got a young family. I had a kid who was born in November, and
congratulations. It's awesome.
Thanks. But it's like, yeah, that's a big part of my life now, and I want to be at home as much as possible for that. And I think I see it as a great opportunity that I get to be so restricted with where I am and what I do, that I can make all of this content in a place that is 10 minutes from my house is pretty great. And I used to, things change, like we were discussing earlier, like over my career, what I wanted to do even a year ago was different to what I want to do now. And that's changed. So yeah, like that Google thing, for example, where I went to the Netherlands to film that piece on color. And that was great. And it was cool. Like I'd never really worked with a crew before. Oh, it was crazy. Like I think they assumed that I'd definitely done this sort of stuff before. And they were like, yeah, so we need to do this. And then we're going to shoot some BTS. And then we're going to go over here and do something with the blah, 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 phalange, whatever. And then I'm like, cool. What's BTS? And they're like, behind the scenes. And I'm like, yeah, of course. I knew that. BTS, naturally. But this was a super exciting thing to do. But as weird as it is, now I'd be like, yeah, that sounds like a minimum of 4 days out of my life.
Yeah.
Which I guess is the positive about that. I guess it's illustrative of how much I enjoy my regular life, but it's also like, oh, I'm not taking up a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Is the other side of that, I guess.
Okay.
Do you think I should do more of that stuff?
Honestly, I think that, so coming from a fan perspective, I would love to see you out and about, not all the time, because, I think something that's great about you is that, it's the constant, right? And if you start doing all this, but I think like even, a half hour or 40-minute video where you're on site would be really, really cool just to kind of see you. And I think letting your personality show just out there, I think would be really cool.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I mean, yeah, okay. Then we got to uncap not just unlimited budget, but unlimited time. Unlimited time, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'd be on that so hard because money isn't the big restrictor. It's time. Time is that big finite resource. Obviously, money is a finite resource as well. No, but it's like if you're doing something, especially with Google or whatever, or whoever, if you're working with a production company and they're like, we want you to go do this, you're not paying for anything, you know? So great. But then it's like you're paying with your time.
Yeah. You could always get investors to invest the money. You can't like make
Yeah, but where are my investors who can give me some sort of magical time machine? That's what I need. I need some sort of future
you can't get time.
Technology, something.
Yeah.
I need Doc Brown, the investor.
That is true. That is, first of all, in my opinion, the greatest trilogy. Could be a bit of a debate.
Oh, no, there's no debate there. We all know that's true.
Yeah, I mean,
and anyone who disagrees is wrong.
Now, there's some other good ones.
There are other good ones. That's true. There are other very good ones.
Very good ones. Yeah.
We all know what is the greatest trilogy.
Yeah. Interestingly, I wrote my bachelor thesis on, for my history degree, on the rise and fall of the American shopping mall. And I opened my paper with describing that scene. The first time.
Pine Malls.
Yeah, Pine Valley Mall. And the point is why is one of the greatest trilogies of all time? Why is the opening scene? They're introducing the main character, which is the time machine, in a mall parking lot. It's very interesting. I thought it was very cool. And
what was your conclusion?
That the American shopping mall was the downtown for suburbia in the United States. You know, because they essentially try to recreate, and this is more in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and the 90s, everything's changing, but the mall was the recreation or the replacement of your average downtown if you were living in a city, just in the suburbs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that action happened. It's
very American in my mind as a Brit, like mall. Because we don't even call them malls, we call them shopping centers. Yeah, no, it's very American. It's very like if I was making a movie or writing a book, fiction, there'd be scenes in America. There'd be scenes in malls, especially if it was the 90s or 80s.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, listen, this is I would love to keep chatting, but unfortunately, this is all the time we have today, and this has been absolutely wonderful.
Have we been going an hour and 20? Wow. Okay, this was great. Time flew. Jeez.
Yeah, this has been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. And if you want to just say one last thing, some parting wisdom from Simon Whistler to all the people listening to that.
Dude, I'm so much better when I got a teleprompter with my preloaded parting wisdom. Oh, what can I take from what we talked about today? I think it's a lot of fun doing this. And I think if you want to have a go at it, have a go at it. This is more than one line of parting wisdom, but I made a video super recently about how many people actually make a living doing YouTube. And the answer was not very many. And a friend of mine, who I went to university with, who I often chat with on WhatsApp or whatever, he's like, so you wouldn't recommend making a YouTube channel? Then I was like, no, I totally would. So I guess my one parting advice would be yeah, I totally would recommend it.
Okay. Well, there you go, everybody.
Yeah. Despite what my video said, don't do this if you want some money. But
if you want an adventure, okay, that's what I'm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Simon. And again, it's been really just a pleasure. Okay.
Yeah. Likewise, Ariel. Thank you for having me on.
This is the Thought Leaders Podcast.